No, you gotta do a lot of reading. Who wants to do the? Julie?
You know,
Jovencito, you're there.
I think that African.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, you wanna do it? Okay. All right, let's
A lot of pressure.
let's log in first.
A lot of pressure.
Okay, eventually I'll get it. Nope. Okay. No. And then we do canvas. And then we do sound. Okay, here we go. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Hialeah Planning and Zoning Board meeting for Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. Everyone, please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, God, for yet again allowing us to serve on this board. Thank you for the wisdom and to allow us to make the best decisions for the city and for us as a group. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Okay. These are the final decisions from last week.
Meeting guidelines. The following guidelines apply to today's Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Any person interested in making comments or posing questions on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Individuals should be respectful of the Planning and Zoning Board members and make every effort to speak with moderate tone, using appropriate language and avoiding personal attacks. The public can view the Planning and Zoning Board meetings on the city's YouTube page. All lobbyists must register with the Planning and Zoning Board prior to item being heard. A maximum of 4 speakers in favor and 4 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the Planning and Zoning Board on any item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Item number 1, roll call. Mr. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Castellanos?
Here.
Mr. Iglesias?
Here.
Mr. Huge?
Here.
Mr. Morales?
Here.
Mrs. Enriquez? Here. We have a quorum. Item number 2, approval of Planning and Zoning Board summary agenda of June 10th, 2026 as submitted.
We need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
Second that motion?
We had a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Castellanos?
Yep.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Morales?
Yes.
Mr. Huge?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Item has been approved. Administration of oath to all applicants and anyone who will be speaking before the board on any item.
Anyone and everyone that's going to speak in front of the board, please stand and raise your right hand. Todas las personas que van a prestar testamento, pónganse de pie para jurarlo.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth before this board? ¿Juras o afirma decir la verdad ante esta junta?
Yes. Thank you.
A written decision, resolution, and/or ordinance will be prepared and presented for review to the City Council. The City Council is authorized to affirm with conditions, or override the decisions by resolution and/or ordinance. After the resolution and/or ordinance is adopted, contact a member of the City Clerk's office to obtain a copy of the resolution and/or ordinance. Upon your receipt of the resolution and/or ordinance, contact the building department to obtain your required building permit. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio files of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the City Council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the City Council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Item number 3, final decision to allow rear setback of 5 feet where 7.5 feet is required, and to allow a distance separation of 1 foot from the main structure where a minimum of 10 feet is required for a proposed gazebo. The property is located at 5080 East 9th Lane, Hialeah, zoned R1, 1 Family District. Applicant, Roberto Amador.
Nombre y dirección, name and address.
Roberto Amador, 50,
Is it on?
5080 East, 9 Lane, Hialeah, Florida, 33013.
¿Que le conviene más en español o en inglés?
De inglés no sé nada. En
¿De inglés no
español
sabe
sí.
nada? Está embarcado.
Sí mismo es.
Ok. Ella la va a leer en inglés primero y después se la va a traducir en español. Así que dale un chance. Cuando vayamos a discutir o ¿sabe?
Hablar.
A hablar. Oh, you mind it's not here today? Cuando vaya a responder, haga las oraciones pequeñas para poderlo traducir.
Bien.
¿Ok?
The property in this application is located on the west side of East 8th Lane between East 49th Street and East 52nd Street. The lot is approximately 7,000 square feet or 0.16 acres. The site is improved with a 1,797 square foot, one-story, single-family, originally built in 1954, according to Miami-Dade County Property Appraisal records. The property is designated as low-density residential on the city's future land use map. The zoning classification is R1, one family district, which is consistent therewith. A review of the city microfilm records indicates that the residence was originally constructed as a two-bathroom home under permit number 1954-27171. A carport and an additional bedroom with a bathroom were subsequently constructed under permit number 1957-37741. A swimming pool was permitted under permit number 2015-2625, and a new roof was installed under permit number 2016-5435. In April 2024, the property owner submitted an application for a building permit to construct a bathroom addition and relocate the existing kitchen under permit number BLDR-011227-2024. This building permit shall be completed, approved, and finalized. This application proposes to construct a pergola at the western corner of the property. Staff reviewed the submitted site plan and determined that the proposed pergola does not comply with the minimum rear setback requirement or the required distance separations from the principal structure. As a result, the applicant is requesting relief from those requirements, which is being presented for consideration at this hearing. The submitted site plan indicates that the proposed pergola is approximately 333 square feet and complies with the required site setback. The plans further show that the site plan demonstrates that the property contains approximately 2,140 square feet or 30.57% of pervious area, which complies with the minimum pervious area requirement. The property owner has signed and notarized a declaration of use, which has been submitted as part of this application. Through the declaration of use, the property owner agrees that the property shall be used solely for a single-family residence and that only one kitchen shall be permitted on the premises. Staff finds that the rear setback request for the proposed pergola might be approved, as the reduced setback does not negatively impact adjacent property. The structure does not block light, airflow, or visibility, remains entirely within the property boundaries, and does not encroach into the 5-foot utility easement. Staff also finds that the distance separation request may be approved. The pergola is an open structure, and the reduced separation will not create any negative impacts on the surrounding properties or neighborhood. The proposed location does not interfere with access around the property and is not expected to create any safety concerns. Therefore, staff finds the request to be reasonable, and this application might be approved subject to the following conditions. Number one, the gazebo shall remain open on all sides and shall not be enclosed with walls, windows, and any other material without further review and approval by the city. Two, the property shall be used solely as a single-family residence in accordance with the recorded declaration of use. Number three, permit number BLDR-011227-2024 shall be finalized prior to the issuance of any building permits for the proposed gazebo. Number four, building permit application shall be submitted for the proposed gazebo and all the improvements reflected on the submitted plans. Number five, the applicant shall obtain all required permits and approvals prior to any construction. And number six, any modifications to the site plan or expansion of these improvements shall require further review and approval by the city. Se lo voy a leer en español ahora. Okay. La propiedad en esta aplicación está localizada en el oeste de la calle Este 9 Lane, La propiedad de esta solicitud está ubicada en el lado oeste de la 9 Lane, entre la calle 49 del Este y la 52 calle del Este. El lote tiene aproximadamente 7.000 pies cuadrados o .16 de acres. El sitio está mejorado con una vivienda unifamiliar de un tamaño de 1.797 pies cuadrados, construida originalmente en 1954 según los registros de la Oficina del Tasador de Propiedades del Condado Miami-Dade. La propiedad está designada como residencial de baja densidad en el mapa de uso del suelo de la ciudad. La clasificación de zonificación es R1, distrito unifamiliar, la cual es consistente con dicha designación. Una revisión de los registros históricos en microfilm de la ciudad indica que la residencia fue construida originalmente como una vivienda de 2 dormitorios y 2 baños bajo el permiso número 1954-27171. Posteriormente se construyó un garaje techado, un carport y un dormitorio adicional con baño bajo el permiso número 1957-37741. Una piscina fue autorizada mediante el permiso número 2015-2625 y un techo nuevo fue instalado bajo el permiso número 2016-5435. En abril del 2024, el propietario presentó una solicitud de permiso de construcción para añadir un baño y reubicar la cocina existente bajo el permiso número BLDR-011227-2024. Dicho permiso deberá completarse, aprobarse y cerrarse formalmente antes de continuar con los trabajos. La presente solicitud propone la construcción de una pérgola en la esquina oeste de la propiedad. El personal técnico revisó el plano del sitio presentado y determinó que la pérgola propuesta no cumple con el requisito mínimo de retiro posterior ni con la distancia mínima de la separación respecto a la estructura principal. Como resultado, el solicitante está haciendo la petición de excepción a estos requerimientos, la cual se presenta para consideración en esta audiencia. Los planos presentados indican que la pérgola propuesta tendrá aproximadamente 333 pies cuadrados y cumple con el retiro lateral requerido. Asimismo, los planos muestran que la propiedad cuenta con aproximadamente 2.140 pies cuadrados de área permeable, equivalente al 30.57 del lote, cumpliendo con el requisito mínimo de área permeable. El propietario ha firmado y notarizado una declaración de uso, la cual ha sido presentada como parte de esta solicitud. Mediante dicha declaración, el propietario acepta que la propiedad será utilizada exclusivamente como residencia unifamiliar y que únicamente se permitirá una cocina en el inmueble. El personal considera que la solicitud de reducción del retiro posterior para la pérgola puede ser aprobada, ya que la reducción propuesta no genera impactos negativos sobre las propiedades adyacentes. La estructura no bloquea la entrada de luz, la circulación de aire ni la visibilidad. Permanece completamente dentro de los límites de la propiedad y no invade la servidumbre de los servicios públicos de 5 pies. Asimismo, el personal considera que la solicitud para reducir la distancia de separación también puede ser aprobada. La pérgola es una estructura abierta y la reducción de la separación no genera impactos negativos sobre la propiedad vecina ni sobre el entorno residencial. La ubicación propuesta no interfiere con el acceso alrededor de la propiedad y no se espera que genere preocupaciones relacionadas con la seguridad. Por lo tanto, el personal considera que la solicitud es razonable. Esta solicitud puede ser aprobada sujeta a las siguientes condiciones. El gazebo deberá permanecer abierta por todos sus lados y no podrá cerrarse ni con paredes, ni ventanas, ni otros materiales sin una revisión y aprobación adicional de parte de la ciudad. Número 2, la propiedad debe utilizarse exclusivamente como residencia unifamiliar con conformidad con la declaración del uso registrada. Número 3, el permiso de construcción BLDR-011227-2024 deberá estar finalizado antes de la emisión de cualquier permiso relacionado con el gazebo propuesta. Número 4, deberá presentarse una solicitud de permiso de construcción para el gazebo y para todas las mejoras reflejadas en los planos presentados. Cualquier otra modificación al plano del plano sometido o una ampliación de las mejoras propuestas requerirá revisión y aprobación adicional de la parte de la ciudad. Nosotros recomendamos aprobación con esas condiciones. ¿Tiene alguna pregunta?
Thank you, Claudia. Permit number 2016 I'm telling you, you're killing me. You killing me. Pregunta, comentario.
Bueno, después de todo lo que ella ha dicho ahí, yo quería hacerlo normal con las especificaciones que la ciudad tiene.
After everything you said, he wants to build it normal with the city's, meeting city's code.
Pero según el arquitecto y el albañil, él sabe que si yo hago esta propuesta a la ciudad, a lo mejor me dejan agrandarme un poquito más.
But given the fact that the architect and the mason said that if he goes by the city's code, he may have the opportunity to enlarge the
So, si quieres hacer cualquier tipo de modificación a la propuesta que tenemos aquí hoy en día, ¿ok? Del gazebo, ¿verdad? Tú lo quieres cambiar. Tenemos que evaluar si va a afectar de alguna otra manera, porque ahora, por ejemplo, no sabemos cómo tú lo vas cómo tú lo quieres
construir.
construir o expander de lo que está propuesto acá. So, si tú quieres hacer cualquier tipo de modificación, yo le recomendaría que table this item, que lo posponga para que tú nos mandes unos planos, ¿no?
Lo que está propuesto ahí es lo que es.
Ok,
Es lo que es.
ok,
Ok.
ok. Tú entiendes que nosotros revisamos los planos con el gazebo de 333 pies a la distancia que tú nos propusiste acá,
Exacto.
de 5 pies desde la parte trasera, de 1 pie desde la casa principal. Así nosotros lo estamos aprobando. Si quieres hacer cualquier modificación, ahora es tu momento.
No.
Ok, ok.
Va a complicar. La quisiera. La quisiera.
Ok.
Okay. What she said. Comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Comments or questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with conditions?
Second that motion?
We had a motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Castellanos,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Yuch.
Me?
Mr. Yuch.
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Okay. Tiene que regresar.
Tendría que regresar martes, agosto 25 a las 5:30, aquí mismo.
Ok.
Mientras tanto, he can start doing whatever steps that
No, not right now.
Not right now?
No, he has to wait until council
Okay.
approval.
tiene que regresar a ver el consejo, lo que digan ellos, entonces te dan la luz verde o la luz roja para proceder.
Ok.
Okay, perfect.
Gracias.
All right, this will close the part of the final decisions. We'll now go into regular planning and zoning meeting.
The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the City Council at a scheduled meeting of Tuesday, August 11th, 2026. Item number 4, rezoning property from R1 One Family District to P Parking for the construction of a new parking lot to service the adjacent existing restaurant located at 4290 East 4th Avenue. The property is located at 390 East 43rd Street, Hialeah zoned R1 One Family District. Applicant John C. Lucas, Esquire, on behalf of Ricardo Largo.
Mr. Lucas. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Lucas, and I proudly represent Mr. Largo, the owner and proprietor, actually the owner of the subject property and the proprietor and owner of Fruteria Latin
Right.
Proud.
Can we have your address so that she
You
can
may.
read it and read it into the record?
Certainly. I'm the attorney for the applicant. My address is 2655 South Lejeune Road, Suite 810, Coral Gables, Florida 331.
Thank you, sir.
34.
Let her read it into the record and we'll proceed after that.
The subject property is located on the south side of East 43rd Street between East 2nd Avenue and East 4th Avenue. The site is approximately 8,625 square feet or 0.30 acres, according to Miami-Dade County Property Appraisal records. The property was originally improved with a single-family residence constructed in 1952. However, the structure was demolished in 2021 under permit number 2021-7949, and the site has remained vacant since that time. The property is designated as low-density residential on the city's future land use map and is currently zone R1, one family district, which is consistent with the adopted land use designation. The surrounding areas consisting of a mix of residential and commercial areas. Properties located to the north, east, and south are designed low-density residential and commercial and are zone R1, one family district. C1, restricted retail commercial district, and C2, liberal retail commercial district. Properties located to the west are designated low-density residential and are zone R1. The subject property is owned by the same owner as the adjacent properties to the east, including 4290 East 4th Avenue with folio number 04-3106-009-0040. The existing business at 4290 East 4th Avenue was established around 2008 as a food by the pound takeout restaurant. Since opening, the business has experienced significant growth and success, resulting in increased operational demands. As the demand for the business increased, the owner implemented temporary measures to accommodate storage and operational needs, including the use of a shipping container for storage and the storage of goods on neighboring properties under the same ownership. While these measures address immediate operation needs, they were not permitted by the city. Since that time, the shipping container has been removed from the property. Approximately 3 years ago, the owner submitted a rezoning application for the subject property, seeking to change the zoning classification from R1 to P parking district in order to develop a surface parking lot to serve customers of the restaurant. The request was intended to address the increasing parking demand generated by the restaurant growing customer base. However, the rezoning application was denied by the City Council. In 2024, a rezoning application for the adjacent property identified as folio number 04-3106-009-004 was approved to change the zoning classification from R1 to C1, making the zoning classification consistent with the property's commercial land use. The approved rezoning allowed the property to function as part of the restaurant operation and includes a construction of a two-story storage building. The purpose of the storage building was to provide adequate on-site storage and help ensure that the restaurant operation remained self-contained. This improvement is reflected under building permit number BLDC-14983-2024 and is currently under construction. The applicant is once again before the city requesting to rezone the subject property from R1 to P in order to develop the site as a surface parking lot to serve the adjacent restaurant. According to the submitted site plan, the subject property together with adjacent parcel to the east will be redeveloped to accommodate 26 spaces parking lot, including 2 ADA compliant parking spaces. The adjacent property, which contained the restaurant, already provides 12 existing parking spaces, resulting in a total of 38 parking spaces available to serve the restaurant operation. The site plan also shows landscaping buffers along the property boundaries and landscaping islands throughout the parking area to improve the appearance of the site and enhance the overall design of the development. In addition, the plans include a proposed dumpster enclosure that complies with Section 78-106 of the City of Hialeah Code of Ordinance. To reduce impacts between the existing residential property and the proposed parking lot, the similar uses must be separated by a concrete wall no less than 6 feet of height. The submitted plans propose this wall along the west side of the property. However, the first 10 feet of the property line must not exceed 2 feet and 6 inches in height to maintain visibility for the adjacent single-family home and ensure safety when backing out into the street. It is important to note that the site plan does not currently propose a 6-foot-high concrete wall along the south property line. A concrete wall will be required along the south property line due to the adjacent single-family home residential property. No direct vehicular access to and from the public right-of-way is proposed at the subject property, meaning no additional driveways will be created at the subject property. The applicant will unify the subject property with the adjacent commercial parcels, and all vehicular access to the proposed parking area will be through the existing driveway at 43rd Street serving the restaurant. This design helps ensure that vehicular traffic associated with the parking lot at the subject property is directed through the existing commercial area access points and minimize impacts on the surrounding single-family home residential areas. In addition, the applicant is proposing curb and gutter improvements with landscaping within the swell area along East 43rd Street. The proposed improvements will enhance the appearance of the streetscape and prevent vehicles from parking within the swell area. Staff finds that the requested rezoning appropriated as it will allow the subject property to support the existing restaurant operation while improving the appearance and functionality of the subject property, which currently sit vacant. Since the adjacent commercial zone properties are under the same ownership and will function as an extension of the existing business, the proposed parking lot will provide a solution to the restaurant parking needs and will alleviate unauthorized parking activities that have occurred as the business has grown over time. Furthermore, all vehicular access will be provided through the existing restaurant driveway, minimizing impacts on the surrounding residential neighborhood. Given the property location adjacent to the existing restaurant and other commercial property, staff evaluated the proposed site plan, and the improvements meet the code requirements stipulated under section number 98-1617 of paving, drainage, and landscaping. Therefore, the proposed parking lot is an adequate extension of the existing commercial operation. The proposed landscaping, buffering, control site access, and required perimeter walls will help ensure compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood while allowing the property to be utilized in a manner that addresses an existing parking demand and supports a long-standing business within the community. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the rezoning subject to the following conditions. Number one, the applicant shall enter into a declaration of restriction, proffering that the use of the subject property shall only be used in conjunction with the restaurant located at 4290 East 4th Avenue and shall not be operated as independent and/or separate commercial parking facility. The subject property vehicular access shall only be provided through the existing driveway serving the restaurant. The maintenance of all the right-of-way improvements shall be the responsibility of the applicant. Number two, the subject property and the adjacent parcels identified with folios number 04-3606-009-0010 and 04-3606-009-0040 and 04-3106-009-0050 shall be unified through a unity of title recorded at the Miami-Dade County Clerks of Courts record. The site shall be developed in substantial accordance with the site plans, signed and sealed by Maria Eugenia Fernandez, AR, dated May 19, 2026, and a 6-foot high concrete wall shall be installed along the south property line to the residential properties. The first 10 feet of the proposed wall along the west property line shall not exceed 2 feet 6 inches in height to secure site visibility, and all improvements shown in the proposed site plan, including the landscaping within the swell area along East 43rd Street, shall be reviewed and approved by the City Street Division, installed and permanently maintained by the applicant. And 7, that any expansions, modifications, or intensification of the approved use shall be required further review and approval by the city. Staff recommends approval with those conditions.
Thank you, Claudia. Mr. Lucas.
Yes, sir. We accept staff's recommendations and we implore the board to simply approve the change or recommendation of the change of zoning from R1 to P. Candidly, we heard the director refer to the fact that we're before you again on a change of zoning. We were before you approximately 3 years ago at such time that the request was ultimately denied by the city council. We did receive a favorable approval of this board leading up to the city council, but things are a little bit different right now. What you didn't have before you at that time, the city council didn't have, is what's been presented to you thus far and has been vetted by the planning director itself. We have now a unified site plan, a 2024 approval, which was the change of zoning from the R1 to C1 to allow for the storage facility to be constructed on the interior lot. And we're talking about 3 lots. We've got the fruteria at 4290 East 4th. We've got the subject property at 390, and the parcel that sits in the middle is the one that currently is under construction with the enclosed storage facility itself. We didn't have that before us at the time. We have now detailed plans that show a beautifully landscaped, consolidated, unified lot for the continued use of the fruteria. Are there benefits and are there drawbacks? Let's address those because the benefits are to not only the city, but also to the community itself. What we're doing by way of this plan is we're resolving unauthorized parking. As we heard from the director, the business has expanded over years. The citizens of Hialeah, the customers of Fruteria continue to come, but there's insufficient parking to accommodate that growth. This plan resolves the unauthorized parking. It puts a vacant lot, and this lot has been vacant since approximately 2021, when the residence that was on there had been demolished. It puts this vacant lot back to a productive use. Number three, it improves obviously the appearance and the streetscape itself because the plan is adding landscaping that buffers along the boundaries themselves. Landscaping islands that are going to be placed throughout the lot and curb and gutter improvements within the landscape out in the swale area, which is something that we discussed with the director as part of the due diligence in looking at the viability of the site for further development. That swale area is not going to be simply unpaved rocky surfaces for vehicles to simply pull up to. Swaled area is going to be an obligation on the part of the owner to go ahead and maintain landscape at no expense to the city itself. At the end of the day, it supports a longstanding business, one that's been in existence since 2008. And the plan itself meets the city's own standards. Staff has confirmed the site plan meets the paving, drainage, and the landscaping requirements of the code. There are no outstanding code violations or fire violations on the property itself. And again, just to repeat, there is no maintenance at the cost or expense of the city. In terms of the owner, what are the benefits? He has a lawful, permanent solution to address the much needed parking for the continuation of this business. The plan provides for adequate and consolidated parking. It's not piecemeal. It's not like we're relying upon the on-street or off-street, but rather it's all going to be confined within the site plan itself. And the site plan is contained. You have not only one access point into the property as opposed to multiple entries. You have one access point itself that is going to go to a lot. It's going to provide for on-site circulation, both ingress and egress. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, it's a productive use of what is an idle asset, a vacant lot that continues to sit there today and has been for the past several years. But let's also be sensitive to the needs of the neighborhood as well. This is kind of the heart of the matter, and this is where the rub comes. And these are the tough decisions that have to be made by government in terms of reconciling, the continuation and the efficiencies and effectiveness of a business with those of the needs and the concerns of the neighborhood itself. There are no new curb cuts. Like I mentioned, there's only one driveway. Access goes through that driveway and that driveway only. All traffic enters and exits. It's controlled. It's not just freewheeling, if you will. With regard to separation from the neighborhood itself, we heard that there is a requirement of a 6-foot perimeter wall that's going to be required at the south side of the property, but also along the west side, which is going to cordon off this property from the rest of the neighborhood itself. Now, there is a step-up requirement there in order to maintain and not compromise your line of sight visibility for vehicles coming in and out of the property, which is something very important. I think it elevates from 2.6 feet up to the 6 foot for a period an extension of roughly 10 feet in order to allow for that line of sight and visibility to be maintained. And then, of course, continues for the remainder of the site. But it's not just the wall itself, because there's landscaping obligations that are being imposed as well. And those obligations are obligations that will be undertaken by the owner. And in terms of the use itself, we're talking about R1 to P. And P is going to be parking only, and it's only parking as it relates to this particular property under a unity of title and a restrictive covenant of sorts that is going to protect against any type of abuses or any type of expansion, if you will, that does not stay within the constraints of the approval that we're asking you to grant to the owner today. In terms of the staff conditions, there are 7, as I read them, and we, as the owner, are prepared to accept each and every of those conditions. To summarize, this is really just it's a narrow request. It's a change of zoning from R1 to P with guardrails, with constraints, that the owner is prepared to accept. And we would implore you to approve and to accept the recommendation of the planning director and allow us to go forward with this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Comments or questions from the board? Go ahead.
To the chair. This is across from McDonald's, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so. Okay, that's probably gonna be a good thing because I'm sure that people are parking across the McDonald's, creating a few back and forth.
It's a long history of parking on the swale, on the road, blocking driveways, both sides of the street.
So, I mean, and if it's walled up, it's not gonna, neighborhood's not gonna pretty much be affected, and I mean.
Well, we're talking 6 foot.
Yeah.
We know about the step up, for a length of 10 feet from 2.6 to the 6 feet, but imagine a 6 foot all the way around in addition to which landscape buffering would be required.
That area, there's a lot of, with that traffic coming out of McDonald's and that, there's a lot of accidents that go on there. So, I mean, yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Leo. Anyone else? Mr. Lucas, I have a couple of comments that I'd like to bring up. This is not the first time that this item has been before us, as I'm sure you
Remember,
remember. Most of the board, with the exception of Mr. Iglesias, possibly Ms. Enriquez, most of the board is new. They most likely the first time they've seen or heard this application. Memory serves me right that the last hearing that we had on this item, it got very heated. We imposed, and I like to say imposed because it got to that point, some restrictions on you. The item was approved by us, but subject to, obviously, the council. We imposed some restrictions like signage, traffic control, and I don't mean police officers. I mean possibly even employees there controlling the traffic, the way they park, garbage, a lot of debris, a lot of refuse, a lot of leftover containers, and not just from your property, also from McDonald's. And I know you cannot control McDonald's doings. I drive by there, not every day, once every couple of weeks. And I do see whether it was because the council denied it or not, I'm not privy to that information, but I do see the lack of compliance with what we suggested. Whether not necessarily you, but the owner felt that because it was denied at the council level, didn't have to comply because the item died. He wasn't here either, but he can probably chime in. You're a very competent attorney yourself. My respects. I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned, and we specifically brought up the fact of restaurant equipment storage in the house to the north and west, directly behind McDonald's. Personally, I have not, the few times that I have been by there, I have not seen that taking place, but there are some pictures here that claim that type of activity still happening. As far as deliveries are concerned, if memory serves me right, one of the many caveats that we had was limiting the delivery hours. Obviously, you do need to be resupplied. What business doesn't? Specifically, a restaurant that has a very good clientele, very busy. I don't recall exactly the times that we kind of like brought forth as to deliveries, limits early in the morning, late at night, afternoon. I don't. It was a few years ago. I do recall that the one of the things that we wanted to take place was a traffic control type of like I said, an employee, just traffic guidance, because nothing against lawn services, but they do happen. It is very convenient. They do happen to stop by there for lunch, but they drive a box truck and an equipment trailer behind it, and where they park, usually on the street, because they can't go into the back parking lot there, they do tend to block the thoroughway there, including blocking McDonald's exit. I'm a little disappointed at, and again, I don't have concrete evidence other than the pictures that were submitted here, which unfortunately don't have a date on them. Some do, some don't. Okay. Of delivery vehicles. It just says after 12 p.m. or after 1 p.m. delivering. But I am a little concerned at the usage of the private residence for storage of restaurant. I hope it's not food. Last time it was decided, it was disclosed that it was like their styrofoam containers, utensils, bags, what have you. Not food. Food items were kept within the property on your, I believe you have like an outdoor cooler or freezer, what have you.
With respect, you keep referring to you. You're referring to my client's property.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's forgive me for that. I'm just
It's fine.
Just
wanted the record to be.
No. I got you. You are representing, so you do have to take a little bit of responsibility.
I'm happy to hear your
Okay.
comments.
That's my concern. Okay. That anything and everything that we had spoken and we promised, we entered into I don't want to say a binding contract, but it was a condition of approval from the board. And again, whether or not, since the council denied it, whether or not and again, I'm going to refer to my legal colleague here, whether or not it was okay for the business owner to default on those agreements as far as traffic and signage and all that, because the council denied your application. I'm disappointed on that because that did not fall through. So
May I briefly respond?
Yes,
Mr. Riccio? If you wish. Okay.
Mr. Lucas.
First and foremost, I'm sorry to hear that you have been told or otherwise observed violations of conditions that were suggested at the time of the last board meeting. I have no personal knowledge of those occurring. Given that, I can't stand here and explain to you any reasons why those conditions would have existed or had continued despite the discussions that we had 3+ years ago. So I'm at somewhat of a disadvantage because I'm not able to literally respond or otherwise defend against that in the absence of any concrete evidence or prior notice that those conditions in fact existed. I would hope, however, that if there were conditions that were violated or suggestions that were not otherwise complied with, that the owner would have been placed on notice of that and given an opportunity to cure, as opposed to my having to stand here and simply say, mea culpa, without having any of the information readily at hand. I will say this. It is not my intention, nor, and I will say this on the part of the owner, should not be his intention or anybody associated with the applicant to violate any condition or otherwise disrespect any decision of this board. And I can say that and feel very comfortable in saying that. When I stood before you several years ago, I believe I gave you my assurance of what I believed the client would be prepared to do on a going forward basis. And we did have very candid conversations. And the discussions that were had back at that time were very heated discussions, not from this podium and from my voice, but also from the elevated tone of the neighbors who have every right to attend and to complain or otherwise object to the granting of any type of permissions or variances or changes of zoning that we may be requesting. I respect that as well. But I would hope that they would also respect the fact that if there are violations or somebody does not follow what the board intended or wished to be, conditions that were binding on a going forward basis, notwithstanding what ultimately was a denial by the council, I would hope that due process and fair notice would be given in order that one might have the opportunity to cure. Now, I will say this. I am aware of the fact that there has been construction on site, because the building that is currently almost completed, located within the interior lot to the outside and east and the west lots in question, has been under construction. Have no idea what kind of conditions those created in the street, whether there was any type of complications, any kind of inconveniences that may have been imposed upon the neighborhood and or other commercial properties. I can't even speak to that. But I do know that that was an event and an ongoing event that occurred. I can assure you this. At the end of the day, if this change of zoning is approved at this level, as well as at the council level, and the property is developed as it currently is being planned to be developed, you will have a much better product, not only for the city, but also for the neighborhood itself. Now, violations that occur thereafter are clearly enforceable through code enforcement action, in which case this city, just like every other municipality, is empowered to take whatever actions are necessary in order to uphold or otherwise protect their code, neighborhood, owners, and the like. So, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry that we're even having this conversation, but I appreciate your candor. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I'm hopeful that if there were any actions that you perceived may be in violation of prior conditions and or obligations on the part of the owner, that will not affect your objectivity in determining the viability of the plan that is before you this evening.
Yes.
And again, I apologize. that
No,
we're having
I
this conversation.
I appreciate your honesty. And just for the record, I would like to clarify the fact that, and even this young lady, Ms. Perez here, I have visited with her, just she's out there mowing her lawn, being a real trooper. And I drive by and we wave, we have a little chit chat, 5 minute, how you doing, blah, blah, everything's good. Not every day, once in a while, but I do frequent the area. And I have seen some disappointing instances that we agreed upon that had not been followed. And I will get with my colleague here for 1 second. I know that it's not your fault, and if anything, it will be a lack of responsibility from, putting it mildly, from the owner for not following through. Code enforcement is something, it's an entity that could and should enforce those violations or lack thereof. Okay, so if I may tap on my legal advisor here, a little bit of a background. Okay, this item has been before us a couple times. The last time it was approved, not sure if it was unanimously or not, but it was approved, and it moved on to the council. There were a set of conditions that were set. signage.
Mhm.
Like I just said myself, an employee dedicated to quasi traffic control.
Okay.
Um, also trying to monitor the garbage that people, discard, it's a restaurant. It's a takeout restaurant. So, you get your little cardboard,
Yeah.
container,
and.
you eat and, come on, just toss it out the window and you go. It happens.
Mhm.
A lot of those conditions, and the one that I'm really disappointed is the storage in the house across the street. I don't have any proof that that is still happening, but I just want to,
You're raising a concern.
reason I don't have any proof, but that was a major clue.
Okay.
It was denied by the council.
Okay, and it was a rezoning like this?
Yeah,
It was similar application?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Similar, not the same,
Okay.
but
So-
the request.
Just legally, to the extent that it was an application that had to go before the council and be approved by the council. In other
Right.
words, it was not an approval by this board.
It was we
You guys-
suggested
Correct, you guys made a recommendation
of those,
to the council.
correct,
The council ultimately accepted your recommendation, but chose to deny the
deny the
application.
application, correct.
Okay. Legally speaking, those conditions do not continue to run with the property
Okay,
because there was no approval for them to attach to. Okay? That does not mean you can't be disappointed and that you can't, consider the totality and impose new conditions
right,
if it's your will to recommend additional conditions.
okay. And again, you and I have been through, this is not our first rodeo when it comes to this particular property, but I'm not an attorney. I needed a little bit of a legal guidance. As far as disappointment is concerned, I am disappointed because even though we spoke at length of the conditions, they were not followed. Did they have to follow those conditions once council denied your application? It's not legally binding, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's how I feel. Hopefully, we can come up with a better plan. I still don't want to see restaurant materials, equipment, and what have you stored in the house across the street, a private home.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Just further note, we receive also, my department received those pictures relating to the property across the street, which is identified as 351
Yes.
East 43rd Street. We forward those pictures to code enforcement for them to follow through and inspect it and find out if there is a case regarding that. So
Yes.
it is in process.
Right. Okay. So do you see my concern?
I
Mr.
hear,
Lucas?
I hear your concerns.
Okay. That being said, okay, I'm going to see if the rest of the board has any comments or questions on the item, and then we'll open up the floor for the neighbors to, say their piece. They are entitled to their piece.
Absolutely, they are.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate your indulgence. Thank you all.
Does anybody else want to you wait for them? Okay, it opens up about part of the public hearing. Would you? Yes. Name and address, please.
Teresa Mejidas, 322 East 43rd Street.
Okay.
Okay, my time started?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a homeowner living 2 houses from 390 East 43rd Street. I respectfully oppose the request to change the residential property from R1 use to parking for the business located at 4290 East 4th Avenue. This request has already been presented to the Planning and Zoning Board and City Council and has previously been denied. More importantly, the business owner has failed to comply with many of the conditions imposed by the city over 2.5 years ago. The owner was required to install signage to prevent patrons from parking in front of the homes and littering in the neighborhood. These signs have never been installed. The owner was also required to provide a traffic control person, yet I have never seen one. Deliveries were restricted weekday mornings between 8:30 a.m. and noon. I have personally observed deliveries after noon and have photographs documenting these violations. The owner was required to provide commercial-grade garbage cans. While I have seen one covered garbage can, it is clearly inadequate for the size of the business. Trash continues to affect the neighborhood. One condition that has been met is the removal of street vendors and sidewalk produce displays. The owner was also required to secure the parking lot after business hours and construct an 8-foot wall with landscaping. More than 2.5 years later, the privacy wall has never been built. Residents continue to experience noise, disturbance, and litter that the wall was intended to mitigate. The board also imposed restrictions on outdoor cleaning activities. One of the neighbors who repeatedly complained about these issues is not attending tonight because she has been harassed after raising concerns about the business. No resident should feel uncomfortable participating in a public process. Although employees may clean the immediate business area, I have never observed staff cleaning litter that blows into the neighboring properties. Residents are left to pick up garbage themselves daily. I also asked the board to consider the owner's conduct at 351 East 43rd Street, another property he owns. He was previously cited for maintaining a shipping container and storing business-related materials at the residential property. I have photographs showing the business storage continues there today. This demonstrates a pattern of using residentially zoned properties for commercial purpose and disregarding city regulations. The issue before the board is not simply a parking request. It is whether additional zoning relief should be granted to an applicant who has failed to comply with multiple conditions previously imposed by the city and who continues to use residential properties in a manner inconsistent with their zoning. For those reasons, I respectfully request that the Planning and Zoning Board deny the application one last sentence, to convert 390 East 43rd Street into a commercial parking lot. Thank you for your consideration and for protecting the character and quality of life of our residential neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. And just to enlighten you a little bit, you heard the opinion of legal counsel.
Yes, I did.
You're 100% correct. We imposed some restrictions, some conditions, all kinds of goodies, cleanliness, traffic control.
8-foot wall, not 6 foot, because we compared it to McDonald's and because
Right,
McDonald's has it.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. All of those were forwarded, were included in the conditions that we imposed, and they were forwarded to the council.
Right.
As legal has just enlightened us, it went to council with those conditions, with those what have you. They denied the application. So basically, those conditions
Yes.
don't exist. As far as the wall is concerned, he can't build a wall without a permit, without rezoning. So yes, there is no wall. So just like with
Because okay, go ahead.
just like with the other conditions about, and you and I know each other. I've waved at you a couple of times. I wave by your house, and I don't go by there every single day, but at least once a month or every so often, I do frequent the area. What do you want me to tell you? I am disappointed at the fact that we brought up some suggestions. We all agreed the item was approved with those conditions, but they never came to fruition at the council level. So basically, we're not code enforcement.
Right,
We're not police.
right.
Our hands are tied. We've done everything that we can do within our scope, within our, within our power, within our reach. So at this point, you're back in front of us, they're back in front of us for the same situation. So we're going to have to hash out the same thing that we've done. You've been here, what, like 3 times now, 2-3 times for?
More than that,
Yeah. Okay.
for another situation too.
Right, right.
Next to me,
But-
but another story.
But, again, at the risk of repeating myself, I am disappointed at the lack of compliance. But putting it bluntly, since it failed
Yeah.
at the council level, as legal says, he doesn't have to comply because those restrictions don't apply. They don't exist.
I understand that.
It is a show of good faith, if you will, that he needs to step up to the plate and be a good neighbor, which I very strongly suggested last time. That's my piece.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your concern. Thank you for voicing your opinion.
Could I just say one thing about the 8-foot wall or not? I'm not allowed?
Real quickly,
Before they said the 8-foot wall because the 6-foot wall at McDonald's, you could hear everything from the drive-through. So it's supposed to be 8 feet with landscaping, so it stops all that noise. The McDonald's, we hear it all the time.
that is something that
So
that is
6
something
foot
that's
unacceptable.
that is something that staff may update on their recommendation. And by all means, if it is feasible and if it is within code, and again, staff, if they agree with it, and
I mean,
they-
I'd rather not have it happen because I feel like my property values and I spent a lot of money. I moved out of my house for a whole year. 2020, I saved up money for 23 years to remodel. I feel like you've been by my house. I think my house is nice.
and
And I just don't feel like that's
You've
gonna
had-
add value to our neighborhood.
you've had this issue with this property. You also had the issue with the property just west of you.
Yeah.
Okay, that old, we're gonna
So,
leave it at that. That old property next to you. Okay, so
All right.
that's why you say this is not your first rodeo here in front of
No,
us.
It's not.
You're well-known
I
quantity
still
here.
always get scared. My armpits are sweating. I don't like to be here doing this, but I love my home. I love my
We
neighborhood.
hear you. We understand.
I don't want to be reporting on people. I don't want to be a police. I
But
don't want to, you know why there hasn't been other complaints? Because I've been giving him the chance to do it for 2.5 years. I came back from vacation and got a letter in my mail and I had a few days to prepare.
but
So I haven't, me and Ricardo have been trying to mend our relationship. He brought me some mangoes. I say hi. He came over and I said, he goes, please, Teresa, parking. I go, I'll never agree to the parking, Ricardo. I don't want that. You should have never demolished the house first. You should have asked about if you were going to able to change the zoning. You could have rented it out. And he said, I don't want to do renting out a place because I don't like to deal with that.
that is something that is beyond
Totally
our.
different. I know.
beyond-
I'm just
beyond
telling
our
you my
reach.
Conversation with him.
However,
Okay.
now this may be a little hard to swallow. If the rezoning fits, or if the rezoning complies with the area, with staff, with city codes, he does have the right to apply and go for it if it gets approved. Look at it flip the coin. If and I'm not going to tell you what the deal is. If and when it goes through and he builds his parking lot, it's going to clear up a lot, not all of it. It's going to clear a lot of the traffic congestion in that area there because everything will go into the parking area, not in front of your house, having those, those
Yeah, but
utility.
40 parking spaces? How many cars are going to be more coming down my street now that there's space?
Teresa, you know,
Marin has like 20.
okay.
There's all these other restaurants that have like 10 or 15. Nobody has that many.
Okay, typically, that is a quick service restaurant. That means you come in, you stand in the line, you get your food, and you leave. So the parking shouldn't be more than a half hour maximum, depending on how many people are there. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Sure. Would you like to?
Yes.
Please, name and address.
Can you hear me well?
Bring the microphone down.
Yeah, of course. I'm shrinking.
Okay. Thank you.
How about it now?
Yes, good.
Okay, you need my name,
Name and address, please.
where I live. My name, Maria Mejides. And my address is 625 West 60th Street, Hialeah.
Mhm.
And I have been a resident of the city of Hialeah for the last 66 years. I love Hialeah. I love where she lived. I recommended that she live in the area for the school, nor Hialeah Elementary, for everything, for everything. I am very disappointed that the applicant doesn't even care to be here. Where is Ricardo? He's not here. He doesn't give any importance to this meeting, to this hearing. He doesn't care. He believes that he, got a good attorney, very, very, very good attorney. And he's not even here. And about the Swell area, the Swell area is always full of the trucks and the employees and everything is of that restaurant. And across the street is so obvious that the part of the business is across the street. You can see that. You don't have to, she doesn't know how to document, with dates and times and all of that. She's doing a great job, I think. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because of her and because of my grandson, that he loved his home. And that is very sad that a house away from his home, he has this nightmare. And that this nightmare is requesting more parking space. For what reason? To build additional area for that business, for the business of the restaurant. Obviously, if he doesn't need that much parking area, why is he applying for that? Obviously, it's because he's going to increase the size of his business for his profit. Yes or no? It's so obvious. And then what about later on? He can even get a liquor license, And then it could be a meeting place, that parking area could be.
We're not there yet.
I'm looking at the word.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Let me say two things. And please don't take this personal. Please don't take it hard.
I will not.
You know me. You know that I'm straight up front. I tell it to you like it is. Okay, I got no filters when it comes to this. The reason he's applying is the American dream, capitalism, business. Who does not like to make more money? He has the property. He has the right business. He has the right clientele. Okay. He has the opportunity to improve his business. As long as he does it legally, he's entitled to it. End result, if and when this gets approved and the parking lot is built, it will be beneficial to the neighborhood because it will cut down on the on-street parkings. Now, I'm not going to tell you that the lawn trucks with the trailers and all of that, they will not fit in the parking lot. Those who still park on the swale and, you got to take the good with the bad, right? But
In the entrance.
overall, it should help the situation. Okay? And you say you don't live there anymore, do you?
But I have a room there because she's
Okay.
saying that I'm too old. Yes, I am. I'm 93. I'm too
Okay.
old.
Because
She still like to be at where I.
okay, because what I'm gonna say, I may get kicked in the, you know what, for saying this, but 62nd Street where you live
Excuse
is outside the 500-foot perimeter of that property. So we welcome your opinion. We welcome you to come here and meet with us and tell us how you feel.
Yeah,
But
I know.
theoretically, it doesn't affect you because you don't live within the.
Yes, the attorney knows the rules and the law very well. And I know that.
But
I
still,
know that.
I need, see, I feel that I need to bring that out in the open because we listen to you and believe me, we're with you. But I do feel the need that I need to throw that out there.
But I know that.
Okay,
right?
okay.
My husband was councilman of
Okay,
Hialeah for 15 years, so I know the rules.
Okay.
And I apologize if I'm out of order.
No. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of
All right.
you. Thank you.
Would you?
Sure. Do you want to read,
Um,
summarize into the?
so for the record, we did receive a letter of objection. It is the same letter that Mrs. Mejides
Correct.
read into the record.
Right.
And we also received a couple
A
of
bunch of pictures.
pictures, and we have forwarded to co-compliance.
And those are the pictures that I mentioned that not all of them have, only, I believe only one or two has an actual date stamp or time stamp. So we don't know if they were taken, we don't know if they were taken last meeting or Thursday, like one of them says. Right. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
I don't think you were sworn in, were you?
Yes, so
Okay. Name and address, please.
Maria Fernandez, 15552 Southwest 15th Street, Davie, Florida, 33326. I'm the architect of the project, and I completely understand what John said, what the neighbors, think, what your concern. I just want to say that when I started on this project about 3.5 years ago, I didn't know Ricardo. I just met him for the project. And 100% or 200%, there was the main two issues were the storage and the parking. It was like they had all the right to complain because it was really a problem. During the construction that presently is going on the project, he's adding a 2-story storage building to try to solve the issue of the storage. There was a cooler in the middle of the parking, and since a couple of days ago, the new cooler has been installed on the first story of that storage building. So that cooler that was in the middle of the parking has been removed.
See, I'm not seeing things.
Yeah, that happened just 2 days ago. I have the photos of the cooler being removed from the site. Now, parking. Okay, the other issue was the parking. With the meeting with the director, we didn't have the area of the swell. She was the one that recommended that if we do a curb along the swell of this adjacent lot, that will help so that not trucks, because the trucks are, you say, delivery, but any other car cannot park because there will be a curb.
Right.
So they cannot go over the swell, plus the swell will be heavily landscaping. Okay, we mentioned how many parking spaces, 30 something, right? We have, but when we develop the parking, so of course you try to do as many parking spaces you can allow, but I don't think he will ever have all that parking spaces, completely filled, because I have gone to the site almost every 2 weeks. I go and I'm able to park, and I go after I have a meeting from another construction project that I have in Hialeah that is from 10 to 11. So I go to the La Fruteria to check the inspections or whatever, and it's between 11 or 12:30, whatever, and I'm always able to park inside I'm not lying. I'm saying what I have never had to park on the street or in McDonald's. Now, regarding the storage, I'm surprised that he might be using that house across the street, because it was an absolutely not to do. I can say that because of the construction, there are many materials that are being, delivered to the site, not just food, but masonry, the stucco, the new appliances, because he did also an extension to the existing kitchen. So all this material is being delivered for the last year. So I don't know, it could be that, or it could be, for the restaurant.
Well,
So
I
I just want to say that I completely understand how they feel, but I think Ricardo is really trying to fix his property and the adjacent property. And at the end, it's like what you said. I think the parking is going to benefit actually the neighbors, because they won't have the issue of the parking on the street. So
I can understand a little bit construction storage for the ongoing construction project of the project that you have going in the existing parking lot. Masonry, wood, tools.
air conditioning,
I
AC
can-
ducts, all that.
I can understand that because that's a temporary usage of the property while the construction. I can understand that, and I hate to say this, I can look the other way because that's temporary. I cannot and I will not overlook
No, he's not allowed.
the
He's not allowed to.
the restaurant materials to be stored at a house. It has to be kept within the property.
No, that 100%.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Would it help if I provide a little bit of just to frame
Yes, sir.
the situation? So
Yes.
there was this board affixed conditions previously
Yes, sir.
to a recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately, that approval was not issued.
Correct.
Okay, so those
At
conditions
the
at
council
the
level.
council level.
Yes, sir.
Those conditions were not enforceable against the property.
right.
To the extent that this board wants to have those kinds of conditions enforceable against the property, the only way to do that is to either change the code so that the code is applicable to them, which is not before you tonight, and
Mhm.
would require something in the future, or to move forward with an application, some form of approval that there would be conditions upon. That's the way to affix these conditions.
That's pretty much what we
So
did last
that's
time.
what
Yeah.
you guys are looking at
That's
right now.
That's pretty much what we
If
did
it's
last
your-
time.
If
Yes.
it's your goal to limit things and impose these kinds of conditions, the way to do it would be to have it ride on this application.
Yes, sir.
Through the chair. So I agree with everything you were saying earlier. But I feel that's gonna be more for code enforcement to go in and pretty much whatever's out of order to go ahead and go attack them about it. But in the sense of the neighborhood and that parking lot, if they can go ahead and have a delivery truck pull into that lot where it's not gonna affect the rest of the neighborhood, there could be some balance between where it's not gonna really affect you guys. It's gonna kind of take some, because the business is already there. It's not gonna go anywhere. I'm sure you guys would love for that traffic and everything to stop, but it's not gonna go anywhere. It's already established for how long?
It's for a while.
So,
It's a thriving business.
so what you can do is try to kind of meet in the middle to kind of make everybody's, I agree that's not something anybody wants to deal with, having, certain things you gotta deal with. That he's not compliant or but in this case, the business is already there. So the only thing you could kind of do is really kind of meet in the middle where it's not going to affect you guys. Maybe have extra conditions for loading and unloading whenever they do deliveries. If they pull into that lot, it's not going to really be in the street. Or the other thing too, that area there is known for just trucks parking all along the side. If they're able to go ahead and go in there, you know, the other thing to it is gonna be basically just code enforcement doing their job, you know, making sure that things are where they should be. You know what I mean?
The, no, you can't talk about that. I'm sorry, I already gave you your time. The design shows for one ingress and egress, which is the existing, Mr. Lucas? Which is the existing, entrance, the existing driveway, the one that has a big dip in it, which y'all need to work on that. Y'all need to work on that, because when I go in there with my car, I scrape the rear bumper. So it's a big dip. I know it's drainage, but so your plan is still that one entrance on the existing driveway.
The only plan before you this evening is the plan that was reviewed by the planning and zoning director based upon the submittals
Right.
of the owner, and it does provide for one driveway. And the purpose of having one driveway was to allow for a streetscape of a swale area that would prevent the parking outside of the actual site
Right.
itself. And when I say site, I'm talking about in futuro, the consolidated site itself is to maintain all of the vehicle traffic within the site itself. On-site circulation in and out. To the board members' observation regarding maintaining traffic and or accessibility when you're dealing with deliveries, something that can be looked into from an operational perspective, not something that I can actually speak of tonight, because there are different size vehicles for different purposes, whether we're dealing with box trucks, whether we're dealing with, the longer wheelbase type trucks that these types of businesses may or may not need. That's something that really has to be looked into. But from the standpoint of the viability of the business, the viability of a site plan, an integrated site plan that will do something that is of benefit to the neighborhood, not detract, not exacerbate a condition that has persisted over time, but one that actually improves upon that condition, is something that we very much support. And I would hope that the board would want to support that as well. To the extent that there are other issues, accessibility, dealing with trucks and the like, certainly something that can be addressed operationally. I'm just a lawyer, not an operational or truck guy.
I got a CDL, so that's why I was saying a lot of deliveries normally pull into a certain area. Through the chair, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So that's why, I was mentioning that way it would eliminate them, the neighborhood complaining about deliveries and so on. It will be tucked into there where the walls and everything are covering it. Obviously, before they get busy, I guess before 12 noon or, whatever schedule they would go ahead and agree to. But it would kind of avoid, blocking the streets or any, you know what I mean? Where the neighborhood is going to be kind of,
Yeah.
not enjoying,
Dinner.
the business itself there. So.
What we don't want to do is we don't want, as I mentioned, exacerbate a situation. I don't want to aggravate anything. We're here to provide solutions. And to the extent that there are solutions, they should be explored.
Thank you. As far as the truck parking is concerned, if a box truck, for instance, happens to back into the main driveway, for unload, yeah, but it's basically gonna render the whole parking lot null and void, useless.
Through the chair, not
Yes, sir.
necessarily.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Not necessarily. The driveways, they have, the width required by the code. So even if it is in a way redundant, not delivery should be taking place in the right of way on the street, but it will be beneficial if we include language in the declaration of restrictions that all vehicles, regardless of the size, they perform the deliveries at 24 hours inside the parking lot.
I'm good with that. He's busy typing away, so
Through the chair.
he's multitasking. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Claudia.
Have the residents seen what the plan is for the parking?
It's a simple yes or no.
Yes, but
Can we
through,
show
through the
it?
chair, yes, she went to the office and the plans they were shared with the,
Okay.
with the property.
Because it's really nice. What you guys are planning to do is really nice. It would improve that area, especially compared to what it looks like now. It looks like a construction site in the middle of a neighborhood, you know, a residential neighborhood. However, I mean, the applicant has not been a very friendly neighbor. Who's to say he's not going to knock down the house across the street without permission? So, you know, I'm really conflicted with this project because I've been here already for many years. And I've seen this, I think 2 times, 3 times now. And if the residents are saying that there have been no improvements, I can't trust that if we do move on, if he's actually going to, you know, do whatever he promises to do. I know if it's by law, if it's written, he has to do it. But is he going to pick up the garbage if the garbage continues? You know, I'm really conflicted with this matter.
Well, I've heard I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's more of a good neighbor policy than, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I just want to say that it's a difficult position to be in, to hear concerns about a client's conduct that has spanned over, we're talking about several years now.
Mhm.
We were here for a hearing just like this, in which we received your approval. And within a very short period of time, the matter went to the city council. Not once, twice. And it was over. I've heard from special counsel that the conditions that were attached, or the suggestions rather that were attached, were not enforceable or otherwise binding. Be that as it may, I'm not here to offer you any excuses or any reasons for any of the alleged conduct that we've heard about tonight. But what I would ask you to do is this. This board is charged with evaluating whether or not a change of zoning should or should not be granted. And the evidence that we offer to you and the explanations that we provide to you are the very best from a planning perspective, from the standpoint of what's good for the city, what's good for the community, what's good for the neighborhood, what's good for the property owner himself. And to the extent that the plan does provide solutions to problems that currently exist and do not otherwise exacerbate or aggravate those conditions, I would encourage you to approve it. Now, to the extent that there are violations, if you will, when there are violations of this code, whether they are imposed through suggestions or conditions or restrictions that are attached to it, there is a mechanism for enforcing those. And the mechanism for enforcing those is going to code enforcement and or law enforcement, whatever degree of violation there is, and to implement or execute upon that other authority. But it's not your burden and it's not your obligation to sit here as this board, as a deliberative board, and undertake those additional obligations. That's for somebody else.
Right.
So when it comes to a violation, it comes to bad conduct, it comes to the concerns of the neighbors. When those concerns are expressed to the city needs to enforce. When those concerns are not otherwise expressed or noticed to the applicant, then shame on the city. Put them on notice, put any citizen within the city of Hialeah on notice of violation, and it's incumbent upon them to fix it. And if they don't fix it, there are consequences. And that is a matter that is not within our purview and something we need to even speculate on. It's something that we have to look to other departments within the city and implore them to do what their job is, and that is to fulfill the obligation to the city of Hialeah, enforce your code, enforce your laws, take the actions necessary to ensure that neighbors' rights are not impinged upon and that this board's approvals are respected. And with that being said, I can't tell you any clearer the fact that when it comes to one's property rights and the privilege of owning and developing property and working within a city like the city of Hialeah or anybody anywhere else, those privileges come with responsibilities as well. And those responsibilities have to be upheld. And that applies to everybody. And I will say, my client included.
Amen.
With that being said,
in closing, I would like to proffer this comment, and this comes from my heart. The application has a lot of merit. The application is spot on. Conditions that have been brought forth and suggestions that we are working on. Again, it's a work in progress, but your application, I'm good with it. You have my vote. However, what you just said, there's a bad taste in my mouth, at least, from a lack of responsibility, a lack of neighborly activity, actions, what have you. I'm at a loss for word now from the client. And that is what is disappointing. Sure, he didn't, did he not comply with the suggestions because they weren't really binding? I don't know. But again, your application has a lot of merit, sits good with me. And I just wish that someone would have a long, heart-to-heart conversation with Mr. Largo and make sure that he understands that he has a great business. He has, but he is part of the neighborhood. He has to be in unison with the surrounding neighbors. I just, that's my concern. I've said my piece.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That being said, any more comments or questions from the board? No? Do you want to add something?
Yes, may I suggest?
Please.
Some conditions based.
Please.
So there were a number of conditions that were talked about. First of all, you've got the conditions that are in your staff report
Yes.
that have been read into the record. Okay. The one tweak I would suggest is to increase the 6-foot high concrete wall to 8 feet. Valerie and I have looked at it,
Right.
and determined that you can impose an 8-foot requirement.
Okay.
Okay. To the extent that you want to beef up the landscaping, you can consider that. In addition, you mentioned signage limitations. I suspect that would be signage on the subject property, basically prohibiting any signage on the subject property.
No parking,
No signage that can be visible from the public.
Right.
Okay, you will have the 8-foot wall, so if they want to put a sign inside the property, that wouldn't count because it's not facing the exterior. I would also suggest nothing other than directional signage around the entrance, because
Okay.
it's facing 43rd Street. Okay, to keep that kind of more quieter. They can have all their signage facing forth.
right. And to interrupt you for 1 second, the
please.
signage that we were concerned with was basically no parking in the swale, no, it just traffic control signage.
Correct.
Not a big neon sign like,
Correct.
Fruteria, that kind of thing.
Correct. Okay, so you want to have that signage that says no parking in the swale. That's what you would. for.
Even though,
It was already, I'm sorry, it was already corrected by the way they already moved the business, so they eliminated that swell area.
Right, and they're also
Yes.
suggesting a curb, a curb.
that's correct. Even
Right.
though I believe in the power of signage, I believe more into the physical improvement
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
swale.
Have been taking care of it.
It is
Yes.
in the proposal. It is in the plans that there's going to be a raised curbed,
Raised.
a raised curbed sack.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, just go ahead.
From the perspective of traffic control, you could require that the applicant deploy an employee during the busy times to ensure that nobody's parking on the swale.
Mhm.
You could also require that the parking on the swale or obstructing the right of way be considered a code enforcement violation. We would do that through a declaration of restrictions if the applicant finds that acceptable. In terms of, you mentioned loading and deliveries all to occur within the private property, nothing in the right of way. I would suggest that, strongly suggest that. You mentioned hours limitations, not to occur maybe before a certain time. I don't know what that time is. I leave that up to you all, but you may want to consider that. Yes.
Through the chair, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
For clarification, in terms of deliveries, they should all occur within private property, regardless of the time. This should be 24 hours, so it shouldn't be a time limitation or anything. The delivery of the products, they should all occur within private property at all times.
Claudia, I find your comment right now very interesting, but I do have an objection when you say 24 hours. I don't want deliveries there in the 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, I said in a fact that if deliveries occurred during any time of the day or night, if they're occurring, because we don't know, we are not the enforcement mechanism, but at the other end, whenever we have this document, they will see that all deliveries at all times, if they're occurring at any time, they should occur within private
I'm
property.
good with that. Yeah, I'm good with that. Yes. Yeah, but that,
Just in that deliveries will occur,
Thank you.
during the night.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
So if there's a time period where you do not want, not in the right of way, not in the private property, you do not want deliveries for during a certain time.
They usually close
No?
around what, 9 p.m.?
No? Okay, just
I can't-
all private property.
I can't speak to that, but I would, to the, to the director's point.
I believe they close the business for the customers at 9 p.m. Now, obviously, staff is still there cleaning up and doing stuff, a couple hours later, but
Let me just make one observation in terms of Board Member Castellanos' observation regarding trucks, and we talked about box trucks and other size trucks and so forth. If the limitation is all deliveries, no matter what time, are going to be interior, they're going to be on-site, not off-site in any way, I think wording such as that would be more beneficial because it may very well be. I don't know what size trucks actually do the deliveries, but if you do have larger vehicles that can't come during normal business hours, or even at certain times, they may end up staging certain deliveries at certain times only because of the limitation or restriction rather of having everything on site. So that's an operational issue that the owner would need to
Mr. Lucas,
address.
my concern is, given past history, given past behavior, and I know we're not going to beat a dead horse, but I would hate to see a 18-wheeler pull up at 1 o'clock in the morning and disturbing the neighborhood. It's we need to be reasonable. Even though there are, like, the McDonald's McDonald's is open 24 hours. Okay, and they can pull up and deliver at any time of night. But we're not dealing with McDonald's, we're dealing with this property. And now that we're dealing with this property here, we have the opportunity to put some restrictions, to put some limitations as to what can happen at what time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Are we?
The last one was litter pickup on adjacent swales.
Yeah.
Maybe require it at least once per day to have
Excuse me?
litter pickup on the adjacent swale. Just have someone go by and clean it up.
You're talking about the adjacent swale that's
To the property,
contiguous to his property.
to the property in the restaurant, basically all of 43rd Street.
South side of.
South side of 43rd Street.
Yeah. Well, actually, the director's recommendations included maintenance of the swale area.
If that's
Installed and permanently maintained by the applicants?
Yeah.
Would that also include?
We can
having-
refine.
we'll
we can
clarify
refine
that
it,
in
exactly.
that condition.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right, thank you. So now we all know what's on the table. So consider that and let me know what your opinion is. We need what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with all the conditions and the conditions that they're gonna be adding on. And by the way, I think has been by Claudia, great job. Cause it's nothing compared to what we got at the beginning. It's a whole different, and like Ms. Enrique says, it's a big change. And it's gonna be a lot better for the neighborhood. Completely.
I have not seen any more street vendors there. Yeah, yes. You,
To throw garbage. Let's say they buy something and they drive down the street, they throw it in my swill.
Yeah.
We just had one side that said, por favor, no tire basura en el vecindario.
that's, no.
With all your respect, that would never happen. I mean, you can put
That's
a
what-
sign.
that's what we're-
That goes by the person, their manners, and there's no way to control that. Let's be honest.
That's why, that's
That comes when you're growing up. I mean, unfortunately, I have to say that because you know how many times I'm driving and people just down the street lower the window and they just throw their McDonald's garbage anywhere on 49th Street, anywhere. This,
okay. All right, for that, that will fall under litter pickup and maintenance of the swale and stuff, so. Okay, What's
Second motion.
okay, we have a motion?
Okay, so
In a
we
second.
had a motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Castellanos. Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
No.
Mr. Huge,
Yes.
Mr. Castellanos,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
yes,
Item has been approved with conditions.
Mr. Lucas,
Yes, sir.
once again, you're successful, at least with this board. Once again, I'm very long-winded, but like I told these two young ladies, I don't have any filters. I tell you, I give it to you, I'm blunt. I give it to you straight. Good, bad, ugly. Please,
Unfiltered and raw is fine by me.
please inform your client what he knows. He's, no, come on, he's no dummy, Inform him what our concerns are, what the neighbors' concerns are. Okay, and then let's see what the council says.
Thank you all for your time tonight. Appreciate
you.
it.
thank you. Have a good night.
You betcha.
Item number 5. Variance permit to allow interior east side and west side setbacks of 7.16 feet where 10 feet is required. To allow rear setback of 14.3 feet where 20 feet is required. To allow 24.41% pervious area where 30% is the minimum pervious area required. To allow 8 parking spaces where 11 parking spaces are required. And to allow the proposed dumpster enclosure to be located 3.42 feet from the right-of-way along East 22nd Street where 10 feet is required. The property is located at 533 East 22nd Street, highly zoned R1 and zoned R35 multifamily district. Applicant Manny Rios, architect on behalf of Rios Investment Group.
Name and address, please.
Good evening, Manny Rose Architect with offices at 18501 Pines Boulevard, Suite 342, Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Good evening, Manny.
Good evening, sir.
Real quick question.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you agree with the conditions?
Yes, sir.
Good. We'll make it really easy.
The property in this application is located on the north side of East 22nd Street between East 5th Avenue and East 6th Avenue. The front of the property faces the Florida East Coast FEC railway corridor, while the rear of the property abuts the elevated Metro Rail tracks. The lot is approximately 6,750 square feet or 0.15 acres, according to Miami-Dade County property appraisal records. The property was originally platted in 1923 as a 50-foot wide by 135-foot deep lot under Plat Book 8, page 54. The surrounding properties were similarly platted and developed with one-story multifamily buildings constructed in the late 1950s. These neighboring multifamily properties are designated low-density residential and zone R1, one-family district, which permit only one single-family homes. Variances were granted under ordinance number 1059, 1084, and 1098 to allow the construction of 4 dwelling units on each lot. As a result, the multifamily buildings were legally established and are recognized today as legal non-conforming uses and structures. The subject property received a future land use map amendment from low-density residential to high-density residential through ordinance number 2024-090. Therefore, the property was rezoned from R1, one-family district, to R35, multifamily District through ordinance number 2024-109. As part of that approval, minor variances were also granted to accommodate the development project proposed at the time. The previously granted approval reflected a two-story building with 4 residential units and 8 parking spaces, including a handicap parking space. The property owner is once again before the city proposing a new project encompassing a 3-story multifamily development project. To proceed with the newly proposed project, the applicant is requesting approval to allow an interior east and west side setback of 7.16 feet, where 10 feet is required, a rear setback of 14.3 feet, where 20 feet is required, 24.41% pervious area where 30% is the minimum required, 8 parking spaces where 11 parking spaces are required, and a dumpster enclosure setback of 3.42 feet from the right-of-way along East 22nd Street, where a minimum setback is 10 feet is required. According to the submitted plans, the proposed development consists of 5 residential units. 2 of the residential units are designed as 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit, while the remaining 3 units are designed as 2 bedrooms, 2.5-bathroom units. The development plans also include balconies oriented towards the west of the property. The project proposes a total of 8 parking spaces on the ground floor, including 1 ADA compliant parking space. Pursuant to the City of Hialeah Code of Ordinance, residential developments within the designated high-density residential are required to provide 2 parking spaces per dwelling units containing 1 or 2 bedrooms, plus 1.5 parking space for each additional bedroom. In addition, Section 98-2203 requires the provision of 1/4 parking space per dwelling unit for guest parking. Based on these requirements, the proposed development is required to provide a minimum of 11 parking spaces. Therefore, applicant is requesting relief to allow 8 parking spaces where 11 parking spaces are required. The site also depicts a 6-foot-high concrete wall along the east, north, and west property lines. To maintain visibility and improve safety, the first 4 feet of the wall along the east and west side properties are proposed as low wall. Staff finds that the request side setback variances may be approved as the subject property is a narrow infill lot that is only 50 feet wide and is located between existing multifamily developments. The reduced size setback allows for a reasonable building footprint and will not negatively impact the development negatively impact the adjacent properties as adequate separation between the structure will be maintained and the proposed development remains compatible with the surrounding area. Staff also find that the rear setback variance might be approved as the property is adjacent to an elevated metro rail tracks rather than a residential property. Therefore, the reduced rear setback will not negatively impact neighboring properties, creating privacy concerns. With respect to the parking variance, staff recognize that the lot is constrained by its size and dimensions. Although the project provides 8 parking spaces, there are existing on-street parallel parking spaces directly south of the project along East 22nd Street. The availability of these on-street parking spaces help accommodate parking demand associated with the proposed development. However, this zoning designation does not provide for any parking mitigation to improved on-street parking conditions. So no parking requirements reduction can be applied, leaving the applicant with the parking variance relief option. In addition, the project proximity to public transportation has the potential to provide relief for a car-centered setting. The project is within a 10-minute walk from the Hialeah Metro Rail Station and has bus service along East 4th Avenue. Once again, despite of its proximity to well-served public transportation option, this zoning classification does not have any parking mitigation to reduce the parking requirements. However, it is well documented that parking is a necessity within this multifamily project type, leaving each 1-bedroom unit with 1 parking space assigned to each 2-bedroom with 2 parking spaces assigned. Staff recommends that the applicant implement a parking decal system for each tenant resident to identify vehicles. Any overflow parking shall be placed in an improved on-street parking area, and parking violations from tenants and non-residents shall be considered as a code enforcement violation. As for the pervious area variance, staff finds that the reduction is necessary to accommodate the proposed development while still providing landscape areas throughout the property. Finally, the dumpster enclosure setback variance may be approved as the proposed location allows for adequate vehicular circulation on the site and does not create any adverse impacts on surrounding properties. Furthermore, the proposed dumpster enclosure gates do not open into the public right-of-way, thereby avoiding any interference with pedestrian or vehicular traffic along East 22nd Street. The proposal has been submitted to the Miami-Dade County Public School Concurrency Management System to ensure that adequate school capacity is available to serve students generated by the proposed residential development and is currently under review to determine whether the project meets the required level of service. The site is served by the pump station PS WASD 348, which is in okay status. Final capacity and utility impacts will be further evaluated during the site plan and concurrency review process. Given the property high-density residential land use at an R35 zoning classification and the existing multifamily development pattern within the surrounding area, staff finds that the request variances to be reasonable. The proposed development is consistent with the intent of the prior land use and zoning approvals granted by the city and establishes an appropriate infill development for the site. Furthermore, the property immediately to the east receive approval for a similar multifamily development project under the same land use designation and zoning classification. The requested variance will allow the development of the vacant property while maintaining compatibility with the surrounding neighbor. Therefore, staff recommends approval with conditions. The application may be approved subject to the following conditions. Number one, the applicant shall enter into a declaration of restriction for the subject property to be developed in substantial accordance with the plans signed and sealed by Manuel Reos AR dated May 7, 2026. Parking assignment shall be identified through a decal system and negative parking conditions overflowing surrounding areas shall be considered a code enforcement violation. And number two, the applicant shall obtain all required street and building permits and approval prior to any construction. And three, the proposed landscaping within the swell area, the removal of existing curb cuts, and the proposed driveway approaches shall be reviewed and approved by the city's Hialeah Street divisions during the site plan and concurrency process. Recommendation, approval with conditions.
Thank you, Claudia. Manny, are you doing one building or two?
We're doing one building here now. We're just, we're the architects for the building adjacent, which is in for permit right now.
To the east?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
541 East 22nd Street. And then not only that, but this is the history behind these two lots is that there was not water available immediately and both properties burned. So one of our guidelines here is, as it's requested by the city and the Public Works Department, we're extending an 8-inch line and putting in fire hydrants and so forth to avoid any future issues. Basically, this property is very identical to the one next door unit-wise. The design is different because we don't do identical designs one next to each other as architects. So basically, it's a very simple project. I've walked the property a whole bunch of times, plenty of parking on the street. I included a whole bunch of photographs in what I dropped off this evening there for you all to see all the number of parkings. There's probably within 2 or 3 lots, there's probably 7 to 10 parking spaces that are immediately across the street within the same street. So I feel comfortable as an architect for this project. And there's not much more to say. Claudia explained it thoroughly, very well. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer the questions. This is a very simple project.
No, the reason I asked that is because I noticed that you kind of took the liberty of including a preview of the next building
Yes,
right
sir.
next to it.
In the
So
rendering,
it's
yeah.
a little teaser.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Comments or questions?
Through the chair?
Yes.
It's a beautiful project. It
Thank
really
you.
is. I really like that
That's
design.
my wife.
Yeah. she
Yeah,
did
no,
well.
she's
My wife, he knows.
The wife.
Is
no,
the
she's
idea
she's got the golden touch, I tell you.
Yes, she does.
beautiful? Is the idea that like the whole area will convert to that eventually?
Yeah,
is
the
that
there's a
That's the goal.
Okay.
yeah
That's
there's a
really
building
nice.
to the west of a
Yeah.
one-story building that we're trying to see if they want to sell it so we can continue the flow
Yeah, that would be awesome. It's
for our clients.
congrats.
This is what we do throughout the whole state and the whole, whatever, but it's going to be a beautiful building.
No, I love it.
Guarantee you.
It's really nice.
Part of the underline project.
We hope so.
There you go. See, I remember. Not the Leah project, the underline project.
Higher line,
Huh?
higher line.
There you go.
Hi,
There you go. I didn't want to say high alive because I'm not a gambler, but yeah, okay. Gotcha. Comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second that motion with conditions.
So we had a motion by Mr. Morales, second by Mr. Yuj,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Castellanos,
Yes.
Mrs. Enrique,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Thank you.
Say hello to the ball.
It was a great presentation by the previous attorney. I mean, I know the whole story behind this.
You've been here
Oh, yeah.
before.
Oh, yeah, with them, but it is what it is. You guys have your hands tied. I feel as an architect, it's a code enforcement issue. and it's nothing to do with you guys or anybody else. It's just a code enforcement issue.
You see how I feel. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had the same case 3 times before us.
I know. We'll see what happens at the council, but
Yes, sir.
all right. You all have a great evening and have a nice summer. We'll see you back in August.
Take
Yes,
care,
sir.
Manny. Have a good night.
All right.
All right,
Right.
take care.
Miscellaneous items not requiring advertising. Item number 6, old business. Okay, no old business. Item number 7, new business.
New
There is
business.
New business, actually.
There is new business?
It's a
Uh-oh.
consideration of a motion to recess the regular meetings of the Planning and Zoning Board during the month of July 2026 and resume regularly scheduled meetings in August 2020.
We're asking for permission now? We've always had it automatically.
Yes.
Can we get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
So we had a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Morales?
Wait, I want to add,
Absolutely.
never, go ahead.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Castellanos?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Yude?
Yes.
All right, so new business
Okay.
has been approved.
All right, so make sure you all have a good summer. Please stay away from the heat. It is so hot outside. Oh my God. Those of you young people that like the sun, those of you that have a boat, enjoy it. All right, anything else? All right.